So, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Bees Talk with Alexandru, your host. And today we are going to release part 3 of our conversation with Dave Gabos from the original F1 from the Inside. Now, I have prepared a little disclaimer, and this is the part where you guys are going to decide what is the route you're going to take. So, yes, this is a spicy one. We talk about government control, surveillance culture, migration, homeschooling, all the topics that you're told to avoid at dinner parties or speak about publicly. If you enjoy sarcasm with your social commentary, you're going to feel right at home today. This is the disclaimer. So, this episode contains personal opinions, humor and sarcasm, and social reflection. Nothing is intended to harm, insult, or target anyone. So, if you are easily offended, consider this your early exit ramp. For everyone else, enjoy the episode.
Well, let's bring the temperature down a bit and
Yeah.
let's change the subject a little bit. What do you think about what's going on in the world at the minute?
Where do I begin, mate? Where do I begin?
I don't know. Is that bringing it down or turning it even more up?
I think you've just opened a jar of debate, if I could put it to metaphorical words, because
A can of worms.
a can of worms,
Literally.
I mean, where do I begin? From the modern day materialism and the over obsession of consumerism to modern day surveillance and nanny states that we live in, if I may say. I mean, we might get a knock on the door any minute, to be honest. We've seen X amount of clips of, like, I don't know, have you seen these clips of old British men around the country getting a knock on the door from the police for not
for
even
Facebook posts.
and for not even like explicitly saying anything wrong about anyone, no racism involved, nothing like that, just a sarcastic comment or just a just a little back and forth just to say something.
Well, here's the thing. As obviously we previously spoke over the phone and WhatsApp exchanges and stuff, I was born in socialist Romania in the 80s. So I went through a period of my life till I was at least 8. Well, almost 1989, when the Berlin Wall went down, where everything was where this administration, this government that we have here in England wants to take it, in my view. I don't know if that's the path they want to go. I might be wrong, but allegedly, in my opinion, that's how I see things are going. Where everything was very controlled, where the neighbors were listening onto each other,
Snitching on one another.
snitching on one to another, if they were saying to the wrong thing to the secret militia, where the priest at church would snitch on you on the confession. If you would have confessed something that you've done and maybe you shouldn't, confessed that you've done it, or maybe you shouldn't have done it in the first place. Depends on even if it was a crime. That's the thing. Sometimes it's not even a crime, and you saying something, and then you find yourself in a big pickle. And the worst part, it was of the control. Life itself was carried, as I've seen it as a child. Bear in mind, at that age, you don't understand very much of the world. You're still getting the grasp of the world and, your education and, your 7 years from home, as we call it, where your parents instill in you your good morals and your ethics and your work and how you should behave in a society, in a good society. Be a good a good cog in the mechanism.
Good cog in a machine.
In a machine.
A
call
good
it that.
student.
Yeah, a good
Obedient.
student.
Obedient slave, and then
Yeah.
9 to 5 slavery.
Yeah, modern slavery.
Yeah.
And the worst part of it is you'd be going to work, I'd be seeing my parents, I'd be seeing my uncles at this point, my aunties going into factories, huge factories, 5,000 people working under one factory, different probably warehouses or roofs or whatever you might, but a big conglomerate that they were building in my town, from the all the Roman Paris Dakar, they were known,
Okay.
trucks competing on Paris Dakar till, I don't know today if they do anything, but they used to be going on to that. Tractors, we had a tractor factory. We had a melting factory where they, forge metals.
Ironworks of some sort.
all sorts of things, and screws and bolts and nuts and all sorts of. And there were about 6 or 7 factories around a big town, about the size of Southampton, I'd say, about 300,000 people. I'm not talking villages around, so just the city itself. So I come from a big city, busy all the time. And the thing is, you'd sit on a queue at the bakery to get a loaf of bread. And you'd put your children on the queue, which my mum used to do, with the counted money exactly, with the little coins, to get a second loaf of bread or a third loaf of bread, because you are entitled to so much a day or a week. The same with a carton of 12 eggs, the same with a chicken. If you'd had probably a chicken a week, well, my parents used to make chicken soup, but it was chicken legs.
Chicken
Not
feet.
even drumsticks.
Yeah.
Chicken legs and wings, right? Just to make the taste of the soup. We used to have a running joke in my country. We used to say, kids, whoever finish their meal first, their soup, obviously their first meal, they're gonna get dessert. The wife would look at the husband would look at the wife, and they go, "You mad? Where you got money from dessert? Where's the dessert coming from?" And you go, "Well, they have to find the meat at the end of the soup, so they need to finish it." Well, how are they gonna find the meat? Do you think there's any meat? So it was a very dry, and that's where the dry humor was, a very dry joke kind of occurring, or you go and, "Oh, can we have a coffee?" And we used to call it Zatz. Zatz is after you make, so if I make an espresso now, obviously the hot water runs through the cup, and then you end up with the espresso on the bottom. That would get dried up and then be reused for second-turn coffee, and it'd be sold in stores.
It all goes to show, doesn't it, that back
It'd be sold to stores. So all the good coffee and everything, all the roast and everything, that would be good quality, it'd go out through export. Allegedly, I don't know, to pay the debt of the country. And allegedly, when the couple Ceausescu died, there was no debt in Romania. There was allegedly, the word goes out there. People might fact check it, please do. But this is allegedly the word, that Romania had no debt in 1989 when the communist system went down.
Is it because they wiped the actual currency and they raised the inflation?
No, they just paid it. They just went, there you go, it's paid. Every month or whatever, in installments or however they done it, they paid it. Because people would produce, would go to work, and they'd had a job. No one was unemployed. If you'd go to, so that was the good part of the socialist system. You wouldn't have bums on the street,
No homeless. Everyone had the roof above their head.
And stealing and robbing people and, doing all sorts of nasty things. They all be at work. If you weren't at work, what are you doing? Where are you?
You're in prison, because if you didn't work, you would get put in prison. But then
pretty much.
That's why there was so many fake job positions created. It was like a manager and a manager for a manager, so that there was enough jobs. So people would end up standing around all day doing nothing, basically.
Yeah, so there's negatives and there's positives, but the control part of it was, horrendous. People sometimes, I know specifically of a local radio station. So the presenter on the radio, he got one word wrong, and this is where I think this administration is going wrong. He said, for the stupid of the head of the state instead of the village, is the same word, just with a syllable difference. Sat, it's a village. State, it's the country. And he got that wrong, whether purposely or unpurposely. He spent a month in isolation in jail for having one word wrong. And his family and everyone, he's probably, if he's still alive, he's spoken in different television shows, and he was invited after the communists went down and stuff. And he said even his family didn't recognize him after probably the beaten up and everything he got in there a whole month, and probably eating just God knows whatever food they give you in prison, you know, because if the citizens, normal citizens, only entitled to one chicken a week for a family of 3, then what do you give to prisoners? They're not going to live in luxury. They're probably getting bread and water. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, this is where I think people and things have gone to an extreme where you can't have an opinion because someone got offended. Well, be offended. What is your issue?
Yeah.
You can't. Well, go and cry in a corner if you have to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
People can't deal with it anymore because we live in this nanny society where we have to appease to everyone.
That has gone, you know. I think, over the pond in America, in the States, in the USA, or however people want to call it, I think they've done one thing right. Trump has done one thing right, and he's went 180 degrees on everything and said no.
But then they have freedom of speech in their legislation. That is actually in. We don't have that, by the way. So technically, Britain has no freedom of speech, even though, if you know history, you know that Britain has realistically spread the freedom of speech. Because without Britain, we wouldn't have freedom of speech in the world as we know it to this day. But it was never written down in the British legislation, right? But interesting comment which I've read today, and I actually do agree with it to a certain extent, and it's communism never died. It just moved to the West.
We're moving, I think, a different type of communist. We're moving into technocracy.
Yes, I agree with you.
A blend between socialism, where you want to appease to all social groups and make peace, like we say in my country, the goat and the cabbage, so they both happy, as in the goat gets fed, but the cabbage, you don't exterminate the whole field of cabbage, as in you don't get the goats loose on the field. You give them one cabbage and kind of make them happy that way. So I don't know if it's a good analogy. Anyway, I'm trying my best here, but what I'm trying to say is like you say, a nanny state, a social state where they're trying to appease the rich and the poor and everyone else in the middle, and it's not quite working.
I mean,
and at the same time, I think is going too far with the surveillance.
Yes.
Using technology against your own people.
Yes.
Using social media platforms to imprison people.
But to be honest,
I think that is not much different from what the communists have done in my country back in the 80s and 70s and whatnot, where you get someone that, has an opinion and you put him in prison. I think that is wrong.
George Orwell, 1984, Thought Police.
Everyone's saying it.
That book was written in 1948, and it was written around a time of turmoil, right? And if you know history...
I think we are the same, because a lot of people are waking up to what we are living, and they're realizing that their life is spent in a job which sometimes they are not happy, because the system has funneled them kind of, this is the blueprint and this is how you have to be successful, to the point that there's actually a British influencer. He's now an influencer, though he's a millionaire, Simon Squibb. Have you heard about him?
Right. I agree and disagree with a lot of topics he says, but yes,
he's now trying to fight one of the government's laws that they put in place about children and school, where soon parents, if they want to homeschool their children, they can't, because the state will say no. Well, then you're gonna pay fines, or even worse, go in jail, or even worse, take the kids away from you. It can happen.
But I see this coming. I've seen this coming for how long have I been saying this? With not being able to, for example, at the moment, you can still move to a middle of nowhere and live a nomadic lifestyle. It's a question of time before they disallow us to do that, before they force you to live in the cities.
How? Because, you know,
Surveillance, you know.
let's say, look, I see every day Facebook groups and stuff, and people, they live in camper vans and stuff because everything's so expensive and they can't afford the rent. And, you know, I feel very lucky to be able to have a job and have a contract and work with these amazing companies and amazing people to pay for all of this. But that's all we're doing. We're paying for stuff, and the more stuff we want, the more we enslave each other. Sometimes we enslave ourselves,
absolutely.
Actually.
We don't
Because
think about
it's
the
a trap.
time.
It's a trap.
It's time, you know. It's time is our most valuable asset. Every time you go to buy a product, you don't think about how much time is this costing me? How much energy is this costing me? We just think about, oh, that new iPhone's $1,000. I can make $5,000 a month on an iPhone. What is that to me? But you don't think about the time it takes out of you, the energy it takes out of you to be able to earn that sort of thing. And that's the trap we got ourselves into in this society, where everything from a young age was drilled into our head is materialism. Own more things, more cars, more branded items. The more fancy things you got, the better you are, because nowadays that's the valuation we place on ourselves, where the only value that we have is monetary value. We don't value other things like spirituality, strength of character, the story behind a person. I feel like there's so many brilliant young minds in this country, for example, who will go ahead to create some incredible things, but because they haven't got that value, that respect, you know, that's required, they haven't got that financial monetary value, they won't be listened to, they won't be heard. And that's the trap we got ourselves into, which is a part of capitalism in a way, because if you don't consume, you don't need to produce. You know, and it's a never-ending running loop, basically, and that's the only way you're going to grow capitalism. It's a constant upping the production and upping the consumption.
Yes and no. Because I personally see a way out of it. And to me personally is going to be at some point, maybe, you know, kind of downgraded down everything to pure minimum basics.
I agree,
when a point is going to come where AI and everything that is being built at the minute is going to make us obsolete, many of us. Or, as they say, you either work with AI to have the upper hand, and I don't know where that's going to lead, because Elon Musk and, you know, Neuralink and all that. So some people probably, they're going to have their internet in their head. So they're going to access data instantly, and you can't compete with that. But I see a way where a lot of people, you can still make a business and still make a living, and where you make bespoke things that AI can't make. And even if there is a 3D print out there, they can't make what you make because you personalize it, and there's not another Dave Gabosh. You're the only one. So, you know, unless you got a twin brother somewhere that thinks, breathes, and lives exactly the same way you do, that's not going to happen. You are unique. So when you bring that uniqueness in what you do, I think that's where, you know, things are going to slightly change if you market yourself the right way. And so if you sell yourself, as in, or what you do, in the right way. And you can see it across a lot of, you know, you can see, for example, you're familiar with Etsy?
Etsy, yes.
So people sell the products on Etsy, and you see a lot of bespoke and individualized items on there. Some of them quite expensive, which I understand, because again, it's their time. And you can't sometimes put a value on someone's time. And they decide, well, this is what my time and my value is. Because like myself, I'm thinking, oh yeah, but you earn, like you mentioned, you've thrown out numbers that you did already now. I probably wanted to keep that for future episode. But anyway, so sometimes who's saying, oh, I'm earning $5,000 a month, fine. But I'm not earning $5,000 a month because I'm taking half an hour to make this. I'm taking $5,000 a month because it took me a decade to learn how to make this. So it took me a decade of my personal time and life to be good enough to make this into a $5,000 a month or $5,000 product or whatever it may be, right? So that's how I look at it. I don't look at the time you decide to dedicate to something. If you have passion and you love it, obviously, I think there's a kind of a balance. It's a bit of a trick because you might love almost anything and you say, I want to do it and I love it. But when it becomes a means to an end, as in putting bread on the table, then you kind of will fall out of love with it.
I agree. And there's something interesting which I want to touch up on there, which you said about the prices of things nowadays. And I want to.
I'm not into, you will see everything about me, except probably the trainers. I'm going to hide them. They were TK Maxx. They were very cheap ones. I'm going to say this. In the States, that's TJ Maxx for you. Who's
Is
watching
it?
in the
I
States.
didn't know they had
Yeah,
a different
TJ
thing.
Maxx, they call it.
Yeah.
I don't wear brands. There's no Versace's. There's no maybe my watch, because watches, again, it's a passion, it's a hobby. I got a couple and you know, I'll wear them proudly. Except my Apple Watch at work gets all my steps and my stuff in. But again, we kind of conditioned to it, and it's kind of like everyone's
young
having an
age.
Apple Watch, everyone's having like an iPhone or whatnot. You know, or
But there's certain things we're happy with sacrificing so we can have it. If it truly, I believe, if it truly, an item truly makes you happy and you think it contributes to
if
your
it
life
helps
enough.
you, let's say
yes,
if it helps you, if it brings value to your life.
Exactly, then I'm all for that. And what I meant by that comment wasn't necessarily like how much we spend on items, but through the price of the items nowadays, no matter what kind of market you're looking into, you can tell the inequality is getting worse. Because if you look at most things, nowadays they're either marketed for the very low end of the market or the very top end of the market. The middle of the market's being worn away, and that's the same sort of thing as the middle class being worn away in the modern day Britain and Europe, for example.
But it is, you are right, and I agree with you, but it is blown away because of inflation. So inequality is created through inflation, because when you're going to have a big disparity between social classes, so you got low class, middle class, and higher or rich people, however you want to put it, elites, whatever labels. I don't like to label, but anyway. So when the inequality happens in between the classes, whoever is into sociology and, you know, classes and systems, they can correct me. It happens because your buying power, it diminishes.
Yeah.
So what you're getting paid versus what the prices of things are, which is what is happening, at least in UK at the minute. I haven't traveled out in the world lately, Europe and so on. Hopefully, like I say, I will do next year. What happens is the more you're gonna make that, and that happens because we had COVID not long ago, and a lot of money was printed out of thin air, and that created the inflation.
Where's that money gone, though? That's the question. All the money lost during COVID, where's it gone? Somebody has it. It hasn't just disappeared.
Well, to begin with, I think, but we'll leave this for another episode, because I think we're going to have to come to a wrap.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But again, it's time.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
what I'm saying is, maybe on the next episode we talk about this, if you're willing to do another one and come again.
And let us know, of course, if you're interested.
Or maybe I'll come and see you.
Absolutely, man. I think
however
that'll be
you
great.
want to do it. Everything you see, almost everything you see here is mobile, so it's not an issue. What I'm trying to say basically is we are conditioned, like I said earlier, from an early age through the schooling system, that there's only one path and one way. And that's why I tried to iterate earlier with my little carbon mirror there. You can learn how to do something in a different way. You don't necessarily need to go through a college, through an university. You don't need, like, for example, I'll give a very simple example, very brief. My stepdaughter, my older one, she's going to arts. She's at uni in arts and theatre, West End and all that jazz, right? Very glamorous, very chic and all that. If you have a lot of talent and a lot of will, and you really want to accomplish something, I do truly believe she doesn't need to get 40, 50 grand in debt after 3 or 4 years university.
I agree.
To be a teacher maybe to be a teacher, yes, because she will need the accreditation. When they hire her, they would want to see that diploma, which is,
Isn't
it's
that
such a
strange in a way?
constraint. It's such a constraint, but that's what the system is doing to us.
It's like that on purpose
But
because
if
they
you
know.
want to be an actor and you really want to, there's nothing stopping you picking up your iPhone every day. You post one video. You get over yourself, over that stigma, what everyone thinks. If they not think you're good enough, you will get good enough. I wasn't good enough in camera. When I started my YouTube channel in the pandemic, actually, I should have started. I've got videos, very, very old videos from Portugal that I've never posted anywhere, because initially I had a website I've set it up as a proper company when I was doing the skinning and wet lays and stuff. I had business cards, putting it in windshields at
It's trial
racing
and error.
events.
We try things.
Yeah. And like this, public speaking, you learn, you get better every day. I'm still learning, I'm still growing, I'm still, but the more you do it, the more you learn. And there's nothing stopping her from her getting her phone and putting a nice song she likes or and mimicking. And she does it in the bathroom all the time. And I feel so, why don't you do it? You'll amass such a great follower. You'll get probably millions of people on TikTok or on Instagram following you, just hearing that beautiful voice singing. But you need to get over that fear of. No, I think humans, us, I do agree, but I also think there is one thing that we fear the most, which is social embarrassment.
Yes. And our positions in a societal hierarchy.
We feel that somehow we're gonna degrade ourselves by being embarrassed publicly, basically.
Where does embarrassment come from? A lack of self-belief.
Yeah. I'd say lack of confidence.
Confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I
do think so.
And I think
so. But it all works against us, because that's how the system is created. Yeah, I get it. If you want to be a surgeon, a brain surgeon, a heart surgeon, you need to go to university, and you need to go through the 2 years of junior doctorate and, get all your masters and diplomas. And I do agree. Or you want to, save lives and stop people from going to prisons, and you want to be a solicitor. I do agree. You do need an university in that case. You're not going to just go as a barrister there. Hey, hello, I'm come to defend you. And the man's is innocent, and he's going to go down guilty in prison, No, let's have a bit of common sense, obviously. But down to certain things, like I say, the path I took to get into this industry, it was completely different. And when I came to this country, shout out to Ben Chamberlain, he was the one agent through the many dozens, maybe hundreds of CVs I've sent to agencies and companies at the time in a space of a whole month. I gave myself a whole month. So I set up for young people out there, I set myself a target. I came with money. I came with a plane ticket. I came, with everything I had to set up legally, not on a rubber boat. Let's get that straight, right? And I had a credit card, and I said, I put that on the line. So I took risks. I had a kid already. He was 7. I left him home with his mum. I said, I'll give myself a month to get a job, and then I give myself a year to have everything set up to get you both here. And that's what I did.
You believed it?
Yes. But also, someone else believed in me.
It's the opportunity.
Gave me the opportunity. Which I think a lot of young people are not going to have.
Absolutely. I think it's this is my bone to pick with the whole inequality and the whole way the world is heading now. It's that chance and opportunity being taken away from the future generations. And when I talk about inequality, by the way, I don't want it to come across as I'm like a socialist or anything necessarily. I do believe that nowadays, in this modern world that we live in, you can do anything. You can change your circumstance more than ever right now. If you really want to go out there and do something, no matter what constraints are on you, you can change your circumstance. As ignorant as that might sound, if you're born somewhere on the street.
No, it's not ignorant. It's true.
Even if you're born in a slum somewhere in India.
I was in a completely different industry. Nothing to do with this. I was doing restaurants, hotels, events, weddings, all sorts of stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with sports, Formula One or carbon fiber.
And I think nowadays, we have so many options and opportunities. Like
Yeah.
right now, if you are good at what you do and if you want to succeed, just go and film yourself on YouTube knitting, for example, knitting pillows or blankets. You know, just go and film
Like
yourself
I
on
say,
YouTube.
sell trainers from your bedroom.
Exactly.
Whatever.
And this is what I think at the moment, right now.
It's just literally the confidence to do it and get
Literally.
out there and doing it.
Yeah, and we have the most opportunity we've ever had. So, whilst I say about all this inequality stuff, it's
Yeah.
all well and true because it is true.
Yeah.
And I fear for the future generations, to be honest, and
Well,
what's coming. And
I'm all about the children. I'm all about, you know,
Yeah.
because let's face it, there's two human behaviors. One, we want, which is part instinct and part, is what it is. That's how the world runs. We want our species to carry on. We want our seed, at least us men, we want a little me out there in the world and growing up, and is amazing, is the best thing ever. But we don't also want them to come through hardship and struggle and bring them into something that in part we are guilty because we created it, this society. We created all this, no one else has.
it's our fault, in a way, every
In a
single one of
way.
us, for just being obedient. and
But
not
you
standing
want
up
to
it.
somehow make it better, not worse. And that's my point of view.
I agree with you.
What I'm trying to say is, look, you had socialism, you had communism, none of them worked. Why are we going backwards?
But
None of them worked. None of them brought any happiness to anyone.
I don't think any system, in a way, if you think about it, works. Even capitalism, does it really truly necessarily work?
Well, we'll see what AI brings on.
yeah.
We'll see.
I just think, like necessarily, if you were to, I think we need a new system. So, some system builders come out. We need like a combination. If it was me who was in charge of systems and what kind of system we're running, I would just nitpick the best out of all these systems. I know it's very easy to say, but do you know what I mean? I think the way we're heading is also, it's a race towards the end. It's a race to the bottom. If I may compare it to the composite industry, right? So many little composite companies popping up here, left, right, and centre. And what's the best way of them trying to get the best contracts? They'll say, I can do it quicker and I can do it cheaper than the other company, which is a race to the bottom, because they're going to keep undercutting one another until they get to the point where so little profit is being made that the companies are going under. And that is something that is happening in the composite world. In Germany, for example, a company which I did a contract for, they've gone under because they had a competing company and multiple of them in the area, and that's what they kept doing, undercutting one another until the biggest one had a good deal and a contract with a large manufacturer in the area, and they just went, right, that's where we're stopping, bottom end, and all the other companies went under because they just couldn't compete with the tight enough margins. And that's, I feel like the world we're in now, it's a race to the bottom.
I have an answer for you. Maybe that's because I was so many years on sales, right? So working not B2B, business to business like we are now, but working into business to client. So when you're working with someone who comes and buys a bottle of water or whatever, you're selling them a product. And that product, you got two ways to do it. You sell on price. So if you go supermarket, and this is, you see it all around, is done the runs now, it's all now on social media, where it says, depends where you find yourself, the same water on the supermarket, it's 30p or 50p or whatever. You go on an airport, it's going to be £2. You go on an airplane, it's going to be £5, and so on. So it's the same with humans. You put them in a different environment, their value is multiplied. And what I'm going to say about what you just said, undercutting, this is an inherited problem of working on price. Because when you work on price, there's someone else who's going to be cheaper than you. When you work on value, then the things change.
I agree.
Shall we wrap it here for the next time and we carry on?
Sure, yeah. I feel like we've got so much more to say, so much more to
There
cover
is
and
a
talk
lot
about.
more. There is a lot more.
All the conversations, just to put you guys to perspective, this is the first time that me and Alex are seeing each other in person. We have spoken countless times in these last, couple months or month or so, had phone call conversations and so many interesting topics, so many interesting discussions which we can bring up. So yeah, let us know. Let us know if you would like to see another discussion with us two, just going back and forth about all of these other. We can talk about more political, more economy. There's so much more of the economy or philosophy
Yeah.
even I'd like to discuss.
I'm not much of a philosopher.
I've got.
I'm a thinker, but you know what they say in our industry?
What do they say?
Do you not know?
No.
Whenever you come, well, I was thinking sometimes you're trying to improve something, or you're trying to kind of put your little fingerprint on it and change a little bit things, and they go, no, that's dangerous.
Not our job.
That's dangerous. Don't think you are paid to do, not to think.
Yeah,
Don't
it's,
think.
the other thing which they also say, the clave will sort that. The clave will sort that.
Sometimes I don't go into that. I don't go into that.
It's something I love to say whenever, just to put it into perspective, vacuum bagging, obviously,
Yeah.
pads, they go in an autoclave when they're finished
Yeah.
with pressure squeezing down on them, and on top of that, temperature
Well,
in order to cure them.
We got a couple of things here.
And this saying of
We
the
got
cure will get it is
A
basically,
stock plate there.
yeah. So you can see it's stacked. So many pliers have been stacked on top of that. Hundreds. Literally, it's so thick, so thick. And yeah, basically the saying is, if you've got a pad and on a vacuum bag, you need to make sure
It's
that
compressed. Every single layer, every single part is compressed onto that plate.
So when you have a void
Literally.
in a corner and you put it under pressure into an autoclave, it will pop. The bag will pop. The pad will be ruined unless the cure gets
It's called
stopped early
bridging.
enough.
It's called, they call it bridging.
Bridging, exactly. So yeah, the whole clave will get it. It's like a
One way or another, it'll either beep on you and call you, look, you come and saw this bag because just went poop.
yeah. This is so heavy, by the way. You'll be surprised how heavy. This is what, 5 kilos? I'd say this is.
No.
It's about 2.
No.
You have a little feel. You have a little feel.
No, it's not.
No, Dave.
No.
I've not been to the gym in a
That's, I would say
dear.
that's probably
2
somewhere
kilos?
between,
Yeah,
not
probably
even
about
that, half a kilo to a kilo.
Really? I think that's quite. Well, I mean, for carbon, obviously, it's
But
quite heavy.
if that
but-
would be steel, that would be heavy.
Oh,
that
that
would
would
be
be-
probably on the 5 kilos, but no, that's probably half a kilo, anywhere between half and a kilo.
And that is, ladies and gentlemen, why we went from aluminium to carbon fibre in Formula One. Exactly that reason.
Well, it's strength ratio as well, because
Safety, of course.
Yeah.
I mean-
you want things, and then the behaviors are different. But we can talk on this on a next one.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah. You'll never stop me going otherwise.
Thank you.
Thank you for
being on,
inviting me.
and looking forward to the next one.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Let's have it a wrap.